Welcome to Exploring 3D Shapes and Paper Nets activity. In this activity, you're going to be using colored construction paper, white construction paper, you're going to be using crayons, sticky labels, a ruler, pencil, scissors, eraser, pencil sharpener, glue stick, clear glue, and tape. To start this activity, we're going to use some colored pieces of construction paper, white construction paper, scissors, pencil, and a ruler. We're going to create 3D shapes from 2D flat patterns, or in other words, nets. So we're going to explore how to use 2D shapes to create 3D shapes. The first 3D item we're going to create is a cube, which is a 3D square. So in order to create this 3D cube, we have to create a 2D pattern. So I'm going to sketch here on the small part what it is that we're going to draw in a bigger shape so that we could get that final 3D pattern. So here we're going to be drawing something that looks like this. It has several squares. These squares will come together to become a 3D item. So here is a closer view of that pattern, and we're going to draw this on a bigger scale on the paper now. So as we saw here in the corner, we basically have 6 squares, and those are somehow going to become a 3D pattern. So let's go ahead and draw this out a little bit more evenly so that everything works better. So since we are creating squares, we are going to have equal sides. I'm going to choose to make each square and each side 2 inches. So here we have that first square, and then we're going to draw the other side at 2 inches. So it's going to be all around a square that is 2 inches all around. Okay. So that is our first square. Now let me go ahead and start drawing the following squares. So off of this square, I will draw another square here. And again, make sure we are drawing 2 inches per side. So we have 1, 2, we're gonna need 6 in total. So we need some more. We have 2 more inches here. And then another 2-inch side here. All right. Oops, a little bit of an error here. So go ahead, fix any issues. Okay, so we have 3 so far, and as I mentioned, we need 6, so we're halfway there. Okay, so now we're going to draw some squares on the sides. Okay, there's our first square on the sides. And then we'll draw another square. Almost there. So there we go. 5 squares. We just need our final square, and we'll draw our final square up here. Okay. And there we go. We have 6 squares, and this is our flat pattern for what eventually will become a cube. For our next shape, we're going to be creating what is called a cuboid. So a cuboid is similar to a rectangle, but in 3D. It's also very similar to the cube. However, the pattern is slightly different. So I'm gonna go ahead and again draw a little draft here so we can kind of see what it's going to look like. So for this one, we're going to have rectangle, 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 and on the sides we will have square and square. 2 squares and 4 rectangles. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And since we are drawing mostly rectangles at first, we are going to have different size of the lengths. So we're going to have a 3-inch length here, and then we're going to make this a 1 inch, and then 3 inches here, 3 inches here as well. Okay, so then we have 1 inch. Okay, that's our first rectangle. We will draw 1, 2, 3 more. Okay, so we have 3 rectangles so far. We need a 4th one. Before we do that, I'm going to start drawing the squares on the sides. So for these squares, we're going to have 1-inch squares all around. So we have a 1 inch here, we have another 1 inch here, a third 1 inch here, and the last 1 inch here. We will do the same on the other side here. And then we finish this square. Lastly, we'll draw our last rectangle here. So one side of the rectangle is 1 inch. The other side is 3 inches. There we go. And we complete our last rectangle. So in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles and 1, 2 squares. Our third 3D shape is going to be a cone. And again, here in the corner, we have a draft of what it's going to look like. So for the cone, it's similar to a 3D triangle. So we're going to have what looks like a triangle, but one of the sides is going to be more round, like this. So I have my ruler here, and I'm going to draw 2 of the sides, and I'm going to make them 3 inches each side. So we have 3 inches here on one side, 3 inches on this other side here. Okay, so now we just need this part here. For this last part, we're going to draw a side that is kind of like a half of a circle. So we're going to start from here, and as neat as possible, we're going to draw kind of like a half circle. Kind of looks like an ice cream cone here. For our last shape here that will be in 3D, we're going to be drawing a cylinder. So that cylinder will look something like this. We will draw a rectangle, and we will draw 2 circles. So that will be our flat pattern. So let's go ahead and draw it on the bigger sheet of paper. Okay, so for the cylinder, we're going to use our shape template again. I'm going to use the circle. This circle has a diameter of about 1 inch. So that means that the circumference, so the length around the circle, is close to 3 inches. And I'll show you why that's important in a bit. but we're going to start with the circle here. Okay. Next, we're going to draw our rectangle, and as I mentioned, the distance around the circle or the circumference is about 3 inches. So our rectangle is going to be about 3 inches wide as well. We'll make it 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side, and then 3 inches again here. Okay. Last shape here, we'll also draw another circle. Okay. So we have our 2D shape for the cylinder. Okay, so now that we have the 2D shape for the cylinder, we are going to look at all of the rest of the shapes. We have 4 flat patterns that we are going to cut out, and then we will convert them into 3D shapes. Something very important we must keep in mind is that for these patterns, we're only going to cut outside. So we're going to cut like this, like this, like this, like this, so on and so on and so on. We will not cut the inside lines, and I'll show you why that's important a little bit later. But let me go ahead and start cutting here. So let me cut only on the outside. Okay. Here we go. Only on the outside outlines. We will not cut through here. Okay, there we go. All right, be careful. Okay, let's cut from here. Alrighty, there we go, got it. Okay, keep cutting. Again, only on the outside of the shape outline. Okay, almost there. And take your time so that there are no mistakes. If there are mistakes, we can fix them, but just take your time. There you go. So the outline is cut. We didn't cut inside. Okay. So I will do the same for the cuboid here. Okay, so again, I cut the cuboid only on the outlines, not in the inside. And next I'm going to cut what's going to become the cone. So I have 3 shapes so far, and I will cut the last one now. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. So this one might be a little bit more tricky, so let's see how we can make this easier. So we will cut here first, and let's get rid of this top part. Okay, so that part's there. All right, so then let's go ahead and cut this part here. that. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Let's go ahead and start. Remember, we're cutting on the all right, for this one, we can cut the rectangle. Let's cut the rectangle. And then now we can cut the circles. For this one, we didn't have to follow the outline rule. And I'll show you once we built this, why that was. All right, so we have the rectangle, circle, and then our last circle here. So take your time to make sure that your pieces are as neat as possible. All right, almost there with this last piece. And almost got it. There we go. All right, so get rid of this extra paper. Here we go. We have 4 flat patterns that we will be using to create 3D shapes. So let's go ahead and get started with the flat pattern that will give us the cube. So what I'm going to be doing is that we are going to be folding on these lines. So that's why we didn't cut through those lines. And I'm going to use a ruler to make it easier to fold. So I can put the ruler there where that line is, and then I can fold on that line like this. And then I can do the same on this side here. Put the ruler right on top of the line, fold on the line. Here we go. And then the other side, ruler right on top of the line, fold on the line. Okay. And then we have the last one here, fold on the line, and then one more, fold on the line. Okay, so now we have this pattern which we can fold. So if we fold in like this and like this, and we fold this part here, we have this so far. Then we could fold this longer piece like this, and this last piece on top. So as you can see, we have a 3D shape, and it's kind of like a square, but in 3D. Okay, so now we're gonna use some tape to put this, to make sure that this stays together. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, so make sure you grab your tape, and if it's brand new tape, you'll have this piece here that you can cut off just by like so. Okay, so grab a piece of tape, maybe not too long, like this. And let's start putting this together. So let's grab 2 of these faces. These are called faces. And let's go ahead and put them together. And we could grab some of this tape to start making sure that they stay together like this. Okay. And then we're going to do the same with 2 other faces. So here we have 2 more faces, and we can grab one face and the other face to kind of make them come closer. And you put a tape on one face and fold it over to the other face. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 faces. Now we have this last part here where we need 1 and 2 pieces of tape. Okay, so we grab another piece of tape. Let's put this face together with this other face here. Another piece of tape. And let's connect these two faces. Okay, so there we go. All right. One last piece of tape to close this off. There we go. So we have a cube. Next is the flat pattern for the cuboid, or in other words, this is also called a rectangular prism because we have rectangles here, mostly rectangles, and a few squares. So we're going to use again the ruler, and we're going to fold on those lines that we previously drew. So we have this fold. Okay. So then we can fold these squares as well. Fold on the lines that are in the inside. Fold. And 2 more folds. So we have here. Okay, it's a little bit slippery. So let's go ahead. This fold and the last fold. Okay, so we folded all the items. For the rectangular prism, we're going to follow a similar way of taping. So we'll grab a piece of tape. We'll fold this side here, and connect these 2 faces. And anytime we connect 2 faces, we create what's called an edge. So this is the edge. So you have 1 edge, 2 edge, 3 edge, 4 edges on the rectangular portion. And then to finish off the 3D shape, we're going to close off the square portions like so. So we'll put tape on here, on this face, on the square face, and we'll bring it to the rectangle face, making another edge. And the last faces will be closed here. Okay. So there we go. We have a rectangular prism, or what looks like a 3D rectangle. For this cone, we're going to, it's a little bit tricky and simple at the same time. So we're going to roll it 1 time. So we can just bring these 2 together, and then let's get a piece of tape here. We can start by putting some tape here. And then we are going to close it here. There we go. Okay. So we have here what looks like a ice cream cone. There we go. The last item we will create here is a cylinder, and we'll start with the rectangle. Let's grab a piece of tape. Okay, so for this rectangle, we're going to roll it and we're going to attach these sides. So put some tape on this side, then we roll and make sure that they connect. Okay, so we have this that looks like a circle, and we're able to put the tops onto the cylinder. So grab some more tape here. Grab one of your circles and it'll be kind of a top here. So that's a top. And then we'll do the same for the bottom. So you can tape it like this. Finish the taping on both sides. And you have a cylinder. So now that you have your 3D shapes, we're going to place them on the white construction paper and we're going to label them. So in order to do this, you can use some of the clear glue. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can place some clear glue on the bottom face of the cube. And we'll glue it on to the white piece of construction paper. For the cone, what we're going to do is we're going to add glue on this edge. And then we'll stick it onto there, and then we can add more glue on the edges to make sure that it dries and sticks. So there we go. Then next we'll add some glue to the rectangular prism bottom face. We'll glue it, make sure it stays in place. Lastly, for the cylinder, we can add glue on the bottom face and make sure it sticks. Okay. So this will take some time to dry. So give it some time to dry before you start labeling, and we'll come back to it. While the glue dries, we can start creating our labels. So we're going to be using 4 labels here. So the first label we're going to use is going to be for the cube. Next one we have is for the cone. So go ahead and label the cone. Next one is for the cylinder. So we can start writing the cylinder here. Last one is for the rectangular prism. So now we have our 4 labels and we can go ahead and start placing them where they belong. So for the cube, we just add that to the cube here. Okay, the cone, we have our cone. We have the cylinder next. Lastly, we have rectangular prism. So now we have 4 3D shapes, and these were created from 2D flat patterns, or also known as nets. These 3D shapes have certain aspects to them that we can describe. A little bit different from 2D shapes. So we have what is called faces, edges, and vertices. So a face, for example, is what we see on the cube here, 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 here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last 6 space is at the bottom of the cube. We also have what are called edges. So these are the edges. And we have corners, but those are called vertices. So that is a vertice, vertice. For the cone, we have one point, and that's actually called the vertex. And on the cone, we also have a surface here, but this surface is not flat, it's curved. So we call this a curved surface. The cylinder also has a curved surface all around. Great job, everyone. So in this activity, you created 2D flat patterns, also called nets, to create 3D shapes. You created 4 shapes, and you've learned about faces, edges, and vertices.